deep.
Well, we've seen him flick a few today as well, so he's got all the skills.
He certainly seems to be the total package.
1 goal away from the half. The U.S. and the Australians tied at 6. And we are set for a little lefty pull. Oh, no, it's righty. Potsy fooled me. He had it in his left hand, and as a lefty, I take special pride.
Well, it's 6-6, as you mentioned. This is the point to half. Australia would love to come down with it, but here goes a big huck.
The U.S. going long, and
they immediately call a
timeout.
timeout.
Timeout, okay.
Immediate timeout. Big huck downfield. No one else was downfield, and so Jeff Easton calls timeout to settle things. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't Jeff Easton. That was Bart Watson. Lefty calls the timeout, and he's going to let the team regroup. They can now set up whatever offensive set they want and hopefully put this right in the end zone to take the half.
And what kind of momentum do you have going into the half with the lead, albeit 1 goal, but you've scored that last goal?
You love to have that. It's a big confidence booster going into the halftime. You want to be able to come out in the second half knowing that you've got the lead and that even in a worst case scenario, all you have to do is hold serve for the rest of the game and you'll win.
Is that normal to call timeout like that? Because I would think, he's out in the open field. He just needs, one teammate to get down there and you have a potential goal.
Well, it's true. He took a quick look behind him, though, and he didn't like what he saw. It seemed like all of the U.S. players who were streaking downfield were fairly well covered. He figured he'd rather take the time out so that they could get something set up. They're not too far out of the end zone, so it could be that a quick little well-designed play could get them in the end zone and into half.
And this is where we'll see a set play, a design play put into effect?
Unless we see something tricky on defense from the Australians, the U.S. is definitely going to come out and know who's cutting, precisely where, and lefty will try and get the disc to him.
And also a chance to make some substitutions for this exact purpose.
No, you can't substitute during timeouts. You can only substitute an ultimate after a goal has been scored or for injuries.
All right, so no substitutions.
Now, it looks like Australia is trying something tricky. They've come out in a bit of a zone setup here. They're not playing man-to-man, and the U.S. is now trying to figure out what to do. This is a new look.
Watson did a lot of pivoting, and the U.S. is definitely doing a lot of thinking right now.
The U.S. was caught off guard, it seems a little bit. Oh, here's a throw.
Ooh.
And it's a turnover in the end zone. The U.S. definitely didn't seem to be ready for that zone and forced a pass through the cup, and it resulted in a turnover.
Now it's the Aussies who could have the lead at the half. The U.S. marking very closely.
Australia would love to score the goal here.
A lot of fans on hand in Duisburg, and they're witnessing, well, based on that body expression, I guess it's not a turnover. Namkung thought he had one there.
Not a turnover. It's a foul. The disc is going back to Watson.
You see the way Namkung just whizzed that thing along the ground? He's not too happy with the call, huh?
No, he doesn't seem to be, but the foul was called on Watson. The disc is going back. And the U.S. is going to have to earn it.
And there's Potsy.
Potsy gets stalled.
Yeah, wow, that was 10 seconds.
10 seconds elapsed, no throw, and the disc comes back to the U.S.
And now they're working it. Namkung, the big one-handed grab, trying to get it into the end zone, and the hammer throw, and what do we have here? We have a score, and it's Will Deaver. You see the calf is taped, making the catch as the U.S. goes into the half with a 7-6 lead.
Fantastic throw. They did exactly what they needed to do. They got the disc back after the third turnover by a Carlton alum. They scored to take the half.
And you see some U.S. fans in the stands applauding the effort. A great throw, a very unique throw for people to see at home as the U.S. will take a 7-6 lead into the half on the Australians. Halftime from the 2005 World Games Ultimate Finals after this on CSTV. Halftime of the Ultimate Finals from the 2005 World Games in Duisburg, Germany, right here on CSTV. Adam Zucker and Jude Travers Frazier with you, and it is halftime as the U.S. has a 7-6 lead Jude, is there a lot of strategizing right now, or are these guys just resting?
Well, we see assistant coach Ron Kublanza, who is an alternate for the U.S. team, giving them some pep talk, giving them some confidence building during halftime. There's definitely some strategy. I mean, right now the game is really, really close. Both teams are playing exactly the sorts of games they want. We went into halftime exactly on serve, even though there were 2 breaks during the course of the first half. But these teams are going to need to do something to pull away one from the other so that one of them can walk away with the win.
Now maybe the skills weren't so high when my buddies and I used to play on the quad at Syracuse, but it seems like the scoring is coming really easily for these teams.
These teams both have really good throwers and really good receivers. And Ultimate is definitely an offense-dictated sport. The best offenses are going to beat the best defenses every time. The defensive effort, we've seen some good plays, we've seen some good bids, but you're right, the defenses are coming up short and the offenses are pretty much having their way at this point.
And the fans are excited. They're watching a little freestyle action right now, and I think the freestyle championships just took place in Washington. A lot of people from Seattle on this U.S. team.
A lot of people from Seattle. Lots of Frisbee stuff going on. People love a good halftime show. Freestyle keeps the crowd entertained.
Well, we had a great first half. We've had a very exciting halftime show for those of us who are here to see it, and we will have a great second half coming up on CSTV. The U.S. with a 1-goal lead on the Aussies, back to Duisburg, Germany, right after this. And you see the 2 guys in the orange there coming off the field here in Duisburg, Germany, putting on a little freestyle show for the fans. But now those waving the U.S. flag are ready to see what the U.S. can do. Number 7, Chase Sparling-Beckley, the U.S. with 7 goals as we enter the second half. U.S. up 1 on the Aussies, who will let it land.
Chase's pull lands just out of bounds, so once again we have a brick. It was looking like a good one, just carried a little bit off the edge of the field. Wind has definitely picked up here in the second half. You can see a little bit of a breeze developing. That could begin to change things.
Yeah, you can really see it on the jersey. Is it harder to throw into the wind or have the wind at your back? How much adjusting do you have to do with your release?
Definitely much harder to throw into the wind. Downfield in the wind, the disc will float and carry, although you do have to be careful it doesn't carry too far.
Yeah, you got to bring it back a little bit.
But into the wind, you have to be a good thrower to get those passes.
And into the grass goes Sarah Wentworth to make that catch, and she is marked closely by Cussin. And now we have a turnover. The U.S. can go up by 2.
Well, It's one of those picks again. A pick downfield before the throw came off, and it looks like the disc is going to go back to Australia.
And one of the things with the spirit of the game is that there are no whistles, so you really think for longer. You think for a longer time that the U.S. actually has the disc until you see them stop and turn around.
You can't always tell. The crowd is really loud and into it, and you can't always hear the call for a second or two. But both of these teams have been showing remarkable spirit all tournament long. Nobody seems to complain once everybody knows what's going on.
And we'll see what they say afterwards. Wentworth going toward the end zone, and nice defense there by the U.S.
That was a great turnover. Mike got a block on a high stall count. And the U.S. is starting off the second half with a turnover. Could take a 2-goal lead here.
And Namkung nursing that right arm a little bit. He made the defensive play, but then he'll walk away and let someone else start it out.
That's right. Oftentimes you make a great play, and the last thing you want to do is pick up the disc. Let somebody else who's calm and collected pick it up and put it into motion.
Oh, and you would hope that person would be calm enough to complete one. But Jeff Easton basically throws it away, and now Ragacki looking for an open man, and he's got one as the Aussies tie it up, taking advantage of that turnover deep in U.S. territory, going to one of the Dowells again.
That was a big cross-field hammer to Matt Dowell. Chase had laid out for the disc in an attempt to try and save possession for the U.S. While he was still on the ground, Matt Dowell cut to the far corner of the end zone, and Ragacki threw him a perfect hammer.
And so not just the turnover, but also the defense totally not ready after trying to go after the errant pass.
Most of the rest of the players were downfield. Chase was the closest U.S. defender, and he unfortunately was on the ground.
And the closest thing the Aussies have to a fight song being played here in Duisburg as they've tied it up at 7. As we get ready for another poll, Jude, Is there someone that you've played with over the years who could make the disc do like an S curve in midair, or always was the guy you wanted to have the pull?
There are certainly, every team has their best puller, the person who can float it up there.